name's Vanessa Sanderson. I work for the University of Maine system, and I support departments within the UMaine campus as well as the University of Maine at Machias. A day in the life of HR, it's really exciting because you can go into a day kind of expecting and thinking you know what's going to happen and have your to-do list and your plan, and then be completely thrown off by a variety of different opportunities. So every day you go in not knowing what to expect. But essentially what I do is I am here to support designated departments that are assigned to me in a variety of different ways. And essentially my job is to recruit, train, develop, and retain the employees of our departments, and through collaboration with supervisors, department leaders, answering questions, providing resources on all things in the employment setting. So whether that's job opportunities, onboarding, performance management, employee development and retention, payroll, benefits, you name it, we play a role in it. So pretty exciting. My pathway was, I'm sure as a lot of people experience, wasn't what I expected it to be. My background, I have a bachelor's in psychology, and my original plan was to pursue a clinical route. I was planning to go down the road of being a clinical psychologist, and I found at the second to last semester of my undergrad, I was put into a field placement where I quickly learned that the clinical life was not for me. And that was kind of late in my undergrad to figure out, okay, well, now what am I going to do? So I started doing research. I love psychology. Psychology has always been an interest of mine since junior high. How could I use psychology but not in a clinical setting? And that's when I found human resources, because with psychology, why people are the way they are, how they think, why they think that way, what motivates them, what makes them happy. And you kind of take that information and look at it as an employment standpoint. I get to do that now. So what motivates departments, what motivates their employees. So I get to use a little bit of my psych background to do what I do today. So instead of pursuing a clinical graduate degree, I found a master's in human resources management, and I pursued that, and that's kind of what led me here. So I think one of the challenges, obviously right now, where we are, with the barriers of COVID-19 and working remotely, there's a lot of conversations and opportunities with departments and supervisors that you'd really like to do in person. For example, if a supervisor is having a performance management concern with an employee, and that's a conversation that you'd really like to have face-to-face, we're not able to do that during these times, which causes a level of discomfort. So managing that and recognizing that is really important during these times. And that just goes to a challenge in general. Difficult, uncomfortable conversations that may have to happen. HR is here to support departments to have that conversation, and to support the employees to understand why we're having that conversation. Here's the tools and resources that we can present to you to get you where you need to be. Those are challenging conversations. We're not, as humans, we're not really, we don't look forward to uncomfortable conversations, and that's really a part of my role in HR, is to help prepare employees and supervisors to get comfortable with the uncomfortable so that everyone can grow. And the advice I'd give is just to talk about it. There are so many people within the university, and I'm sure within your personal group, that want to hear you, want to talk to you. So if you're coming into this environment of, we're all in an unknown right now, and you're not quite sure how to navigate something or deal with something, I could count on all my fingers and toes, multiple people within the system who are willing and ready to talk to you for whatever you need. So don't hesitate to reach out to anybody. If they don't know where they can get the answers, they'll point you to someone who can. And we're here to support you, and don't be scared. We'll do this together, and we'll get through it.
My name's Angela. I am our content marketing manager at the Jackson Lab. A day in my life consists of lots of meetings. I have a handful of direct reports, so checking in with them and giving them guidance throughout the day. And what I'm really responsible for is anything that goes out the door that's public facing. I have eyes on that. So from white papers and blogs to one pagers and live stream content, I'm the one that oversees all of those things. So a lot of checking in with our internal stakeholders, our product managers, our scientists to make sure that our content's correct, and the rest of the marketing team about how we're going to get the word out about things.
Nice.
So if you had asked me when I started my undergrad if I ever saw myself in marketing, I would be like, I don't think so. I don't even know what that is. I was from New England originally. I went to school down south at South Carolina, was studying to be a pharmacist, got an internship and realized I do not want to be a pharmacist. So I took a gap year, really figured out what I liked, and what I always liked was English. And I always liked critical writing and theory. So I went back and got my undergraduate in English, decided to get my master's, and came up to the University of Maine, got my MA in English there. And that gave me a nice foundation, good research skills, which are very important in marketing. And what drove me in this direction was really my work outside of my master's program. I worked at the Foster Center for Innovation, and through there, I got to take courses in innovation engineering and work a lot with our own marketing within the Office of Innovation Economic Development. And that's where I really experienced what it is, and that it was something I truly enjoyed. So the rest is history. That's where I honed my skills and eventually landed at the Jackson Laboratory. The biggest challenge is probably time management, especially as you start to get, a bunch of new things in COVID world, which we're in right now. Priorities have to shift. So you have to manage your time, and you have to be very nimble. And being able to do that is kind of the make or break between success. And once you can manage your time well, then you can have your hands in lots of different things and get to experience a lot. I think what's most rewarding about my job is I have a lot of freedom in my position to pursue the things that I'm personally interested. So search engine optimization is something I had dabbled with a little bit in my previous job, but coming over to Jackson Laboratory, I've gotten to take courses. I've been able to learn more and really lead that effort, which has been very rewarding. And I think, the best thing about it is Jax is a great place for their employees. So they really promote getting more education. They have tuition reimbursement and a really great work-life balance. And I think that that's the reason that I stayed in Maine. I've been here over 10 years now, and I get to work a job I love, and I get to hang out and go outside and do all the wonderful things that all the seasons hold. So I think that's been a really positive thing about living and working in Maine. So I would say like 99% of students coming into college don't know what they want to be when they grow up, right? And if you ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I have no idea. And I only know what I like and what I don't like by having experiences. So my advice would be explore everything. You won't know until you actually do it, and try to get work experience outside of your education. I've hired a lot of interns over the years and hired a lot of entry-level positions. And what I'm really looking for as a hiring manager is some kind of work experience. So even if it's not completely relevant to the position that somebody's going for, showing that they've held a job, they've had responsibilities, and they did well, that's a huge bonus for me as somebody who's hiring.
I work at Bangor Savings Bank, and I'm an executive vice president there and chief commercial officer. So kind of what I do is we have about 1,000 employees at the bank, and about 700 of them are in my section, 600 of them are in my section of the bank. And so it's anybody that's a customer facing part of the bank. So it's commercial lending, Main Street lending, the branches, wealth management, treasury and payment services, payroll, and that, you know, it's a good group, and it keeps me diverse in my knowledge base, because there's a lot going on. We have about 250,000 clients that we take care of, so we customize what they need on a regular basis. And so a day in my life is basically what we're doing right now. I do a lot of meetings and I talk to a lot of people about what's going on. And occasionally, you know, probably a couple times a day, I'll talk to clients just to check in to see how we're doing, and see if we can do something better. Because we really do try to put the customer at the center of the room and build what we're doing around them. So when I'm looking at, with our tech group or one of our teams, about how do we add a new product, service, how do we upgrade what we're doing, it's best to know, what does a customer really know? Because banks, we can get kind of excited about something that is really exciting to bankers, but nobody else. So we have to make sure we don't get caught in that. And I think I always tell my wife, I have the best job in the world. I get to do a lot of different things. I get to work with a lot of great people. And I think the biggest thing I really do is I remove pebbles from people's shoes, and I remove barriers from success. So what I do each day is figure out what's the best way to help my team achieve what we need to achieve each day for our customers. And if there's something that's preventing them from doing that, it's my job to help figure out how do we fix that. Okay. I had a political science degree. Asked to run for office as I was graduating against an unbeatable incumbent, and some weird twist in Maine history occurred, and I wound up winning and serving for 8 years in the legislature. And while I was doing that, had the good fortune that a local banker thought that I had what it might take to be a banker as well. And so they put me through a management training program while I was in the legislature. And it was really a great experience. I was able to serve my state and get a bigger view than I might have had on the economy and the components of it that make it up as a 20-year-old in the legislature than I might have otherwise had, and also be able to kind of bring that bigger perspective with me to my management training program and my small first branch I had in Fort Fairfield, Maine. So, you know, it was a great experience, and I've been fortunate that I've had mentors in my career that have helped guide me or coach me. And so what I usually try to do when I talk to, we have internships and we have management trainees at the bank, and I'll go talk to them. And one of the things I tell them to do is be flexible. Mm-hmm. Don't be rigid on what you think the pathway forward is, because each opportunity that somebody who sees something in you gives you, it may be the opportunity that broadens your view of how you do things and gets you ready for a bigger job down the road. So I started in that management training program, went to a branch, went to small business lending because I was encouraged to. And that's really where my career I found my love, is working with entrepreneurs to see the vision that they had and help them work their way forward with it. So it's just been a great ride. I've been in banking for just about 30 years now. And it's not a career, if you asked me when I was in high school or college, I would have thought I would love, because my picture of what a banker did and what a banker actually does was really a mismatch. Mm-hmm. So it's really, there's so much to do, and there's so many different ways to do it, that it's exciting. The biggest challenge and the best thing is the same thing, in that I get to work with people, right? And so some people come to work and they're enthusiastic, they're excited, and they give it their all, and when they go home, they're tired. And there are some people that are just dialing it in. And the part that I find most rewarding is when I can inspire and work with somebody who came to work to dial it in and show them what their career could be, and watch them flourish and open up to really commit to the pathway forward. And so when you can develop the folks around you, it's exciting. The other things that are, right now we're dealing with COVID-19. We have 67% of our employees working from home. Yeah. And it's trying to find out, when you give in a new challenge, how do you rise to it? So I talk about us needing to be flexible, our ability to pivot,
Mm-hmm.
look for bottlenecks, and because in the process, we've had huge volumes with the SBA loans coming in, where we've done 14 years worth of SBA lending in a 4-week period. And so when we think about that, pressure will make diamonds, right? That's how we make diamonds, and that's where we've been able to see where shine. But it also shows cracks and weaknesses, and in cracks and weaknesses, we've been able to say, okay, how do we fix this going forward? How do we improve it? And is there a technology solution that will help us make this a little bit less of a manual burden? And so I think at the end of this pressure, we're going to be a better bank and a better team. Even though we're not working together, we're working really closely together. And so from a leadership standpoint, we have to be able to get up, be positive, and figure out what's the way forward for our teams, and how do we lead them. And I love the challenge, and I'm so fortunate to work with people who make this crazy time we're in even fun. A career in banking we have an IT department that is helping us solve every day. So we have people who write code, people who are network engineering. We have people who are working in the branches. We have accounting departments. We have wealth management. So, the specific degree you have doesn't limit your ability to work in a bank. So at Bangor Savings, oddly enough, our CEO has a political science degree, and I have a political science degree. So you would think a business degree, an accounting degree, a finance degree might be the traditional way forward, but that's not where I started, and it wasn't where my passion was.
Mm-hmm.
But as I found out that I love numbers, I didn't think I did when I was in high school. When I got my master's degree, I did get it with a concentration in finance because it's where I moved. But I'd say first, don't limit yourself to what you do, and don't put the pressure on yourself in high school to think that you know what you're going to do the rest of your life when you're picking college. You're going to explore in college. You're going to learn a lot of things. Take some classes, talk to your advisor, broaden your horizon. I started off as a pre-veterinarian medicine student, finished with a political science degree, and I'm a banker, right? So you can zig and zag, and everything you do during your life is going to give you an opportunity to do something else. But be a lifelong learner, and don't just stop with what's next. Keep going. Find your passion and follow it.
Excellent words of advice. Thank you so much. And I love the story transitioning from, pre-vet to poli-sci and then into this wonderful career in banking. And congratulations on a 30-year career so far. Yeah, that's really wonderful. Well, I think that's it. I think we hit on all of the key points, and I really do appreciate your time today. I'm going to stop the recording, okay?
Sure.
It's kind of a difficult role to describe succinctly because there's a lot of variety to it. So, thinking of the day in the life, talk a little bit about today. What my day is today, and I think it's a pretty good representative of what I do most days. Started this morning early with a call with one of our agent partners. So MMG distributes all its products through independent agents, and had long-standing partnerships with many throughout the 5 states we do business in. Talked about how we're navigating these challenging times, how we can evolve to get better, things we can partner on. It's a very, very dynamic relationship that we have with our agents. And we had a great conversation about now and the future. Also include a little bit of personal conversation. We've been friends a long time, and his daughter and my daughter are both seniors in high school, and navigating the challenges around that. So relationships go deeper than just business in my role and in insurance in general. Before I got on the call, I was looking at a financial transaction that we're getting ready to put together. I was reading an article on new technology and analytics. After I get off this call, I'm on another call with our marketing and underwriting group to talk about our 5 states, some product evolution, as well as some technology. And technology is driving everything we do now, which is the case of most industries. This afternoon, I've got a conversation around some of our community involvement as a company. That's very significant, and a lot of conversation going on around that, in particular, given the times that we're in. And then I'll finish up the day with talent development. A big part of our conversations is how to develop our current workforce, as well as attract those for the future. And that's why it's important to be on calls like we're having this morning, is to make sure that the next generation of professionals understand the opportunities. Yeah, I think my journey is probably a lot like many of the students at the University of Maine and students in general. I came from a small rural town in Maine. I had a choice that came down to either going to the University of Maine or attending a school in Boston, which was pretty significant divergent of decisions, as it relates to that. I was undecided at the time, didn't have a clue what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to go to college. And the University of Maine just provided a variety in an environment that let me figure it out. And I felt most comfortable in going there because I thought it was my best chance to get direction and have the opportunities, I guess, with a variety of programs offered, that I could go in a lot of different directions. I will admit, my intention was to transfer at some point. I really wanted to get out into the world. But as I got on campus, I quickly found my people. And I think that can be defined pretty broadly, but I found a great group of friends. I love the environment of a big campus with a lot going on. Did have the variety of experiences. Ended up changing my major 3 times in the first 2 years, which was I guess helpful because I was learning as I was going. And really, what was pivotal for me were 2 professors that I had once I got to the business school. One in marketing, and the other in finance. That really helped me look into what would a career look like. What would it be, and really sparked my interest in business in general, and then eventually in finance, which is where I graduated in terms of a degree. Started working in banking. Was there for 11 years. Had a great initial learning opportunity and development opportunity with KeyBank at the time. Was in corporate banking. Was just a great environment. Again, big company, lots of training. The bank was really on the move, and it set some great foundations for me for the future. Ended up in insurance, which was really around my thought process to continue to be part of a company based in Maine. That became very important to me, living in Maine and being part of leadership in a company that was based here in our state. And as well, the varieties of what at the time Maine Mutual Group, now MMG Insurance, provided. I knew the company pretty well. I was their banker for a time period, so it was kind of a calculated step. But it has really been great in providing for the ability to stay in the state of Maine, but at the same time have a career path that brings a lot of opportunity and change and new things. There are a lot of great things. I'm very fortunate. Just in thinking about it, probably the people. Insurance as an industry is driven by relationships and a common mission to really look after those that we insure. And because of that, it's quite a tight bond and a really pure people business. And that's not only the coworkers that I work with every day at MMG, but our board, our agents that I've mentioned, our technology vendor, our body shops that we partner up with to fix vehicles after they've had mishaps. All great people and all very motivated in delivering for the people that buy product from us and put their trust in us. I think the second thing would be variety. There's a lot of variety in our industry. I started out in sales and marketing. with quite a bit of finance. But even my day now includes a lot of technology, a lot of strategy, project work, and it's really always fresh and new. There's always a lot happening in our industry, and I think it's misunderstood for a lot of people. Insurance is a very dynamic industry, and I think the last thing, as I've said earlier, as far as the best things about my job, is I get to live in Maine. That's something that I appreciate more every day. The sense of community, the outdoors, the people. We just have a great state, and I feel really fortunate to have been able to, make a career, make a life here, raise my family here. That's been very important to me, and something that I value very highly, and something that working for MMG has also provided for. I guess challenge-wise, obviously a lot of challenges right now, and a lot of uncertainty. I think, overall, as we look ahead, we're just going to continue to stick to the fundamentals that have been, part of our organization for, over 100 years. They're still very applicable today in terms of, keeping our employees safe and healthy, making sure that we continue to deliver for those that do business with us, and moving forward. I'd say on a more immediate level, outside of what we're experiencing right now, it's probably my biggest challenge at times keeping up. A lot of evolution, a lot of adaptation. The world is moving very fast. And I think the realization I've made over the last 4 or 5 years is, that it's not about preparing for a change anymore. It's being prepared to constantly change. And I think, if there's one word of advice that I could give to high school students or they're looking at University of Maine, or those that are enrolled already, is you really got to build yourself around constantly changing and adapting. And once you get your mind into that mode, it's really rewarding. But it's a necessity today to keep up. I think to go back to reflecting on entering the University of Maine. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, and that was hard. So my 4 best friends, one was going to be a doctor, and the other 3 were going to be engineers, and I didn't know. But I think what I've learned, and what I've told my daughters, is it's okay not to know. That going to school is all about that journey and that realization, and really embrace that. It's okay not to know. It certainly is great if you do know and you are focused, but it's okay not to know. And certainly I value what I got from the University of Maine, which was an environment that helped me to figure that out.